welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm here with my lovely co-host, Jonathan. Say hi, Jonathan.
Hey, everyone.
And we have this week's evictee. We have Marcin here. Say hello, Marcin.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, such a sad week. This is actually the final, the real final week of Big Brother Cheesecake. I can't believe we're in week 11, right?
Yeah, it's I think week 11 or 12. It's been going so fast lately.
I can't even believe it because we both know how long this season feels like when you're in it. So the fact that it just sped on by is pretty insane. So how do you feel about being evicted this week? Did you know it was coming?
I had a feeling, but I had hope, like just a little hope, but there was things I didn't know in the background that were happening, and in the end, the result was what I expected. I just didn't think Brazil was working as closely with Nick and Lindsay as she was, and I didn't realize she was still holding a grudge for that Curtis vote, which she said I'm the mastermind of that whole situation, which I don't think I was, but sure.
Who do you think was the mastermind of that vote then?
I think we all had a say in that one. I mean, Nick and I were both a little bit disappointed that he didn't tell us about his alliance with Ryan. And in the end, we were both bitter still. Like, we tried, but it wasn't happening. And Nick wanted him out. I wanted him out. I know Lindsay was pretty on board. So Brazil was the only one kind of on the fence from when she was talking to me, but I didn't know she had a final two or anything with Curtis or how close they were. I knew they were talking. So in the end, Nick and I, Lindsay, and then CJ was, of course, going to vote Curtis out. She seemed to be voting for the guys out. So it was kind of like, okay, let's get him out. He got the Pooh Brown veto. He decided to make that big play. And because of that Pooh veto, it was kind of like, we have to take him out. He's on the block. If he uses it this week, we take him out this week. If he uses it next week, he's probably going home next week. It's just, when you have a 50-50 chance at a Pooh veto, don't take that chance.
Agreed. I mean, Jonathan might disagree, but I agree 100%.
No, I agree. I absolutely would have taken me out too. But so when it comes down to, you made it so close to the end, which must sting a little bit. But for me, it's like there's three elements of playing the game. It's like the first part is like surviving, the first bit. The second is kind of then being near the end and winning stuff at the end, and then the third part's winning the whole thing. But winning competitions when you're in the final four is so pivotal. It almost literally is everything. And so no matter how great of a game that you may have had all season, Jojo, if you're not, if you don't position yourself perfectly in the final four, you'll find yourself out for three. It's such a pivotal moment to like win stuff. Final four, final three. So having said that, 8 questions, right? In staircase. Was that?
Well, the thing is with staircase, I had the biggest disadvantage. Andrew posted the video at 10. I watched the video. I made my guesses, but I had to leave for work at 12:30. So I only had 1 or 2 good guesses before work, and then I was driving the whole time, and I basically had only a couple guesses to make. I just didn't have the time to play like Nick did or Lindsay, where they were in front of the computer all day.
Mm-hmm.
Brazil, I'll give her credit. She said she was up for almost 48 hours because she didn't sleep for work. She came from work, played the game, took a nap, and then went back to work. So she stayed up a long time to play that game. I was driving a bus. I couldn't get my phone out.
And I understand that. But did you have, and I did find a lot of the questions this year to be rather tricky, but did you have like your, you have notes, you have a notebook is what I think I've heard. So did you find that you just didn't take, I mean, even me, I didn't take well enough notes last year. I should have had it in a chart, and there's all these things and that's what we're really trying to express to everyone early on, like every detailed little thing that you can think of, take notes for that. But did you find that they just didn't help you that much? Because you did have a couple hours, and you could have made a few guesses, but the number's kind of low for me because it's out of what, 30? 32. So so did you find just your notes didn't help you, or you got tripped up somewhere? Like, what happened? I was more.
My notes weren't the greatest. I had good notes starting, and then my son was born, I think, April 26th, and this game started on the 17th. So once my son was born, my note taking was reduced. And with the kids and everything, it's just harder to get detailed notes. I took loose notes, I would say. Like all the competition stuff, I was pretty good with. Who chose lemon? That was a tricky question. Like Lisa put that in the main chat, and like she was out week 2 or week 3, one of those two, like early on in the game. So like no one was thinking Lisa for prank or no prank.
I mean, I just saying, like, I went into the main chat and like all those, we had questions like that as well, where I think it was like, who likes pineapple on their pizza was one of our questions. I was like, I have no idea. So I actually did search our group chat pizza to see when that would pop up. So
Everyone except for me and Rhonda, I remember still.
And so, but like how I studied for that one was like, I actually put all the possible people for each question on a separate piece of paper.
That's what I had.
Started my cross-referencing, and so it was definitely really challenging, and it would have been challenging if you're at work and just doing it by memory or by who did that one. And so I can see how it'd be difficult. It's just unfortunate that you couldn't get a couple of better guesses in before you had to go off to work.
Well, in my defense, Lindsay got 10, and she works in front of a computer all day. So I mean, she was working, but she wasn't stuck to like driving. Like she could have a notebook in front of her. Like I had my notebook on the dash. When I had a couple minutes on a stop, I would look. But the same thing, I would send Andrew a couple guesses, and then sometimes he'd be driving or working, and he let me do it once where I did 2 guesses without knowing if they were right. But at the same time, it's like I'm waiting for his reply, and then I'm like, it's hard to like concentrate on everything. It was a lot that day.
So, you brought up, you have a new child, and that's your second child, I believe, right?
Yep.
So why did you, and we're glad that you did, but why did you participate in Big Brother Cheesecake this season, knowing that your wife was due momentarily, and how stressful it could probably all be, and how distracted that you might be?
To be honest, Andrew's lie is what got me playing. Where you just check your phone once a day, maybe vote here and there. It's no time commitment at all. That's what Andrew said for like 2 years. I'm like, okay, whatever.
So you got suckered. You got suckered is the answer.
And I figured I'll be home. I'll be able to be on my phone.
Yeah, Andrew did you dirty.
Yeah, and then after week 1, I'm like, oh no, this is different.
Well, you definitely did amazing considering you had so many responsibilities. Like you're juggling quite a few balls, and quite a few balls more than other people in the game. And so, who do you think is running the game right now? And do you think that? And yeah, how do you think the game is going?
I think Lindsay is doing a lot of the big decisions. It's like lately, it feels like Nick is more trying to not get on Lindsay's bad side, and in turn Brazil's bad side. Because he wants to make Final 3, Final 2 with them. I don't know what the deals are. Because the week where I was up against CJ and Curtis, actually the week where Curtis was up against Kat, I was already starting to see the writing on the walls where Nick was kind of pushing me off to the side. And I was like, okay, he's not strategizing with me. He's not telling me much. So I tried to like go with Kat and like try to get in with her just to make it further in the game, because I knew I wasn't going to go past Final 3 unless they wanted a weak player at the end. Because honestly, the second half of the game I think has been my weakest, just because my competition wins have been terrible. The one that I'm kicking myself over with the most is the Knighted win, because if I won that one, I think the move would have been Lindsay and Nick on the block, which could have changed the whole game. But I made a stupid move. I had 4 hours of sleep, and I was holding a baby, so I was playing kind of at a disadvantage, and I thought there was another round. My fault entirely. And that kind of, I think, was my downfall. But right now, I think Lindsay's the one calling more of the shots. I know who the HOH is because of the video that came out today, and it's Brazil, so I'll see if I think she'll take Lindsay, but there's a chance she'll take Nick. But I think both Nick and Lindsay are the 2 stronger players.
She won the second part.
So they just doing part 3 right now. And so
okay, then I read it wrong in the chat that Andrew posted.
Basically how it works, the final 3 is that it's 3 parts. So everybody plays part 1. Nick ended up winning part 1. Then there's part 2, which is played with the 2 other players, so Lindsay and Brazil. So Brazil won that one, and now Brazil and Nick are facing off in the 3rd part. Whoever wins part will be considered the final head of household. So if Brazil does win the final head of household, who do you think she will bring, and who do you think she should bring?
I think she will bring Lindsay. I don't know who she should bring, because I think she's going to have a tough time against Nick and Lindsay. If Nick wins, because now I know it's a possibility, I think he will bring Brazil. Because if it's Nick and Lindsay, it's going to be whoever has the better speech. With Brazil, she's been off the block just like Nick. He's never been on the block. But at the same time, she has always been kind of in the background, which might have been her game, but I mean, she could have made a big move last week and kept me, which would have been great, and taken out Lindsay, which is a very strong player, but she decided to be loyal to her 3, and that may bite her in the ass in the end. But who knows? I'm only one vote.
So you're saying then that Nick should bring Brazil, so then wouldn't that mean that Brazil should bring Lindsay, if that's the case?
I think either if she brings Lindsay or Brazil, Lindsay or Nick, it's going to be a tough call for her. They're both, like, I put Nick and Lindsay pretty equal, or just one above the other slightly. And then Brazil is a little bit lower than those 2. So I think she'll have a tough time. Lindsay would probably be the easier one, you're right, to beat if she had to explain her game.
So what was your knowledge of Big Brother coming into the game? How did Andrew convince you? The 2-year slow, what's it called? The pressure you to play, that Japanese water torture?
No, when I met my wife, she got me to watch a season of Big Brother. It was the one that I think you guys said is the worst, the one with Frankie Grande where Derek won.
Why
So
not?
that's the only season I watched in full, and then I here and there, but I mostly watch Survivor. That's my jam.
Have you ever played any online reality games or anything of the sort?
No, this is my first one.
And how did you find it? Like, I know that you had a lot of other responsibilities, so it was challenging juggling your time. But all in all, how did you feel about playing the game itself?
Oh, it was fun. I had a lot of fun. I like interacting with people. Like when I was a teenager, I was on MSN all the time, chat rooms. So this is kind of bringing me back to that. But at the same time, if I was single or if I didn't have a family, it would be a lot. Or if my kids were growing up, it would be a lot easier to, devote a chunk of time to all this. Where if you have 5-10 minutes here and there, it doesn't make for a great competition experience.
I can understand. So do you think that you would ever play again?
Maybe in the future, but not anytime soon. Like, if you ask me for All-Stars, I would have to decline just because it's so close to this. Like, going from this to All-Stars right away, it's just, it would be too much.
Did you have a final 2 with anybody?
No one wanted a final 2 with me. I asked Brazil, I asked Nick early on, and then a couple times later, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's too early," or "I don't know, we can't decide." So I was kind of on my own.
Did you have a favorite competition, whether you did well or not?
I did enjoy the Jeopardy one overall because we all sucked. But the questions were fun. Like the Big Brother questions I did poorly on, but the general knowledge stuff was pretty fun. And then the second one would be the poker game. That was pretty fun. Like Andrew says it wasn't the greatest. Everybody just went for 4 of a kind, which was true. Mm-hmm. But you also, I was playing more like I need good cards for the second half if I'm in there. That's why I was able to beat Brazil for the disadvantage because my cards were way better than hers because she was just playing whatever was the best at the time.
So other than not winning competitions, do you think that you can pinpoint where your game went wrong?
I think just when I found out Curtis was with Ryan and that Final 5 alliance, it kind of went downhill from there. And I know Curtis did mention he was working with Brazil, but at the same time, I think if Curtis stayed, it would have been better for my game because Nick would still be gunning for Curtis and Lindsay would probably be the same. And then Brazil wouldn't be working so closely with Lindsay and Nick. So I might have been with Curtis, Brazil, and the final 3.
Oh, interesting. That would have been interesting. Do you have any idea who you're going to vote for in the end?
without giving it away?
Yeah.
I have a very good idea who I'm not voting for and who I am voting for as well. But based on who goes to the end, I know who will definitely not get my vote.
Do you think that the speeches at the end can sway your vote? Are you like on the fence potentially, or?
I got an advantage where I knew I was evicted at like 4 o'clock, and I got to stay for until 10 in the morning. So I talked to a lot of people in that time span, and the final speeches would probably not sway me either way because I got a lot more information. Like people really explained their game to me a lot, and I won't say much because they might have lied to me, they might have not, but
So everyone values different things in when they are voting. And this is something that we will probably get into more so at the jury roundtable. But what did, going through this game, what did you value the most in some of the other competitors?
well, what I valued was honesty to me. Like, if you're gonna vote me out, don't sugarcoat it. Like, let me know that you're like, oh, I'm gonna keep you for sure. We're final two, and then vote me out. Like that, I don't respect too much. Like, at least some competitors were more honest. Like, oh, if I get HOH, I'm putting on the block. Just so you know, no hard feelings. Okay, then at least I know what I'm working with. I know that. And the other thing is competition wins, which I totally suck at, but like winning competitions is a big thing. Like if you're just skating by like I did at the end, I wouldn't have probably won because I couldn't make a move because I couldn't win a competition. So my social game is all I had. Whereas people that have all competitions, no social, I mean, it's hard to judge, but I would say a mix of winning a good amount of competitions and a strong social game with not too much deception.
So if you said that, if Curtis had stayed, you would have ended up going for Nick and Lindsay. So would you say that it was a good thing that they decided to take you out, and the fact that you would have turned on them?
Can you repeat that? It kind of cut out a little bit.
I was just saying that you said that if Curtis had stayed, you would have turned on Nick and Lindsay. So if that's the case, then wouldn't you say that it was good for them to be taking you out and going with Brazil, who hadn't turned on them?
Oh, for sure. That makes sense. But at final three, like honestly, it's whoever wins the HOH gets to decide who gets to go to the final two. I mean, loyalty, I think final five, sure, final four, maybe. But like when you're down to final, like you're voting for final three, you might take the people you're most loyal with, but if they're both better players than you, it's not a really good game mode. Like if you think you can honestly beat them, great. But if if it's 1, 2, and you're number three in the totem pole, sometimes you should make the bigger move. And I I don't know.
Now, if you stayed, okay, if you stayed in the game, uh, who would you have taken? And let's say you won the final HOH, who would you have taken to the final two with you?
100% Brazil. I can't beat Nick. Nick had the stronger game. He won more competitions. He had a very strong social game. But I would have taken Brazil, and I told her
And
that.
then,
Like,
and then let's say you have your pick of any of the house guests in the season. Who would you have liked to have kept to the end so that you could have taken to the final two?
I'm not too sure, honestly. I mean, CJ would be the easy choice.
You were taking her all the way to the end?
I don't think so, no. But like that would be almost a guaranteed win because she kind of stopped playing halfway through. But I don't know. I was just playing it week by week near the end. Once after we got to jury and after I figured out Nick was not really in my corner, I was like, I think I was thinking Brazil the whole time just because I'm like, I think I could beat her. She's been in the background. I've been kind of in the background. But she has stepped up her game. She's been winning HOH veto and stuff like that more than me. But I mean, compared to Nick and Lindsay, and even Curtis was very strong. So he had the strategy, he had the gameplay, and super nice guy too. So he would have definitely beat me. So I would have said Brazil from everyone that's there. I'm not really thinking about the early game people that were out week 1, 2, or 3 because I mean I didn't really get to see them play.
And so how do you, what would you say to other operators that might play in the future?
Yeah, you can always make it far. I mean, just don't lump yourself as, oh, I'm with the operators, go operators 100%. I mean, do it in the background, but don't, and people will assume it, but at least work with people. Branch out, talk to everybody else. If you're not talking to anybody, they're like, okay, they're working with the operators. You know what? Maybe, like I did, I honestly did. I knew what the operators were doing. They had me in their group chat. And I used that to help Megan survive week 1 because I knew exactly who was voting for her and all that stuff. And then I was kind of in that group chat until Jack was gone because they thought I was with them. And I was using tidbits of information to like get good with Curtis and then get in with Ryan a little bit. But Ryan was very, I didn't feel like he wanted to work with me at all. But Curtis was receptive. And then we had MNBC. And that's where I put most of my information. And then based on that, we knew what was going on with the operators. And then I got into that Save Jack group that Jack blew up. But again, my side of the house knew what I was doing, so it wasn't a big threat to me, but it just let me get relationships with people that were not operators. That also the operators, a lot of them don't know Big Brother, which I think is a disadvantage because like you're playing blind where I knew kind of like what the format was, what you have to win, like you have to get the votes, and it's good to have a social game where some people are like, oh, let's just try this out and see what's going on. And those people went first.
So what would you say was your best move of the season and maybe your worst move of the season?
Best move was probably, I don't know, when Ryan went home and basically telling him accidentally that he was being voted out and he did not take it well. And then the worst move was voting Curtis out for sure.
Interesting. With that, do you have any regrets then for the game that you played this season?
I just regret that poker game where I could have been HOH. But other than that, no. I mean, I played the best I could. I did what I had to do when I had to do. And it is what it is. I'm not bitter. I didn't go out in the nicest fashion. I made, I wasn't very nice when I left that group chat, to be honest, but
we get it. It stings. Like you think it's not going to sting, but I know that it does sting. So
it stings. And then Andrew's like, "Oh, I vote for you to be mean." I'm like,
Do
"I don't
you
want to
know
be too mean."
Chantele?
Not in this particular game, but I've been voted out before.
She's like, I know what it's like to win.
I do know what it's like to win. I know what it's like to be final 3 twice. Not in this particular game, but similar games. And then I made it to jury in another game, so I was voted out twice in that one because I was the battle back person. So I do know what it's like to be voted out, and like I cried. So like, don't worry. Like I know how emotional it can be. Like these people are your friends.
And you're so invested. You get so invested into it with your time and everything that it's like you can't help but take things personally sometimes and just. And it's such a shock to the system once you're no longer in it. You go through this withdrawal and whatnot, but yeah.
I'll be honest, it's not been a withdrawal yet because I'm still in the jury house, but I think the shock was just like Brazil had a chance to make a big move and it would have put her on the board and then I would have had no chance for sure, but I would have survived another week, which would have been nice. And she decided to go with the loyalty and make the game a lot harder on herself, which kind of threw me off guard entirely. And I think the biggest thing is she blamed me masterminding Curtis's eviction because I was the first person who said, maybe we should vote out Curtis, even though we were all thinking it, as the reason why she voted me out over Lindsay. Like that was the only difference between the two of us, which I didn't believe. Like I thought it was a weak excuse. But apparently I'm the mastermind. I got Curtis out, so.
I don't know what I haven't spoken yet to Brazil this season, so I don't know what she was thinking or like her mindset going through that. I don't particularly have any other questions. Well, actually, you said that you would take CJ to the end. Do you think that it was a mistake on their part to potentially keep you over CJ?
No, I think she was going to be voted out no matter what. Before the end, that was always the plan. I mean, she would have been gone on the double eviction, and except Ryan decided that he needed to make a strategic game move and let her win the veto. But she would have been the easy win. But no, we didn't. out of all 5 of us that were left near the end, we knew that it wasn't something we wanted with CJ at the end. And also, she was very unpredictable. So at final 3, final 2, it was like, okay, who's she going to take if she wins? Because, I mean, it's always a possibility.
Do you like cheesecake?
I love cheesecake.
Really? I don't even like cheesecake. I haven't used my gift
Yeah,
certificate.
me either. I don't like cheesecake.
Send it to me. Send it to me.
Well, I mean, I think we're going to try to do maybe, I don't know, I kind of pose this to people and like maybe just do like a cast party and like all of us spend our money together and just kind of go and hang out with different seasons. So that's kind of something that I was floating out. I don't mind sharing it with other people that have played the game for sure. So that's probably what I'm going to do with it once we're allowed to restaurants and whatnot. Jonathan, do you have any other questions? Anything you want to share?
No, just that you still have a job to do. Like you said, you're in jury. You are still in the contention for fan favorite. I think we announced a few weeks ago how we wanted to each pick someone and then have like 3 people up for fan favorite. Well, we've actually changed it. So anyone, in appreciation for people coming and sitting with us and speaking in their exit interviews to us about their experiences, we've decided to open it up to everyone who is a contestant this season who did join us via video. And we will be posting a poll later today at some point. And the fan favorite of the season will be determined, and it will be announced, I think, at the finale, I think is what we've discussed. So who will win a monetary prize, of a mysterious monetary prize. We don't know what it is. And $2.50. But
That's fair. No.
Bus fare is $4 now.
$4. Oh my God. But I went to school and it was $2.25. But yeah, so you're still in contention for that. You never know, you might win. And like I said, you still have a job to do on the jury. So you can influence people. You seem pretty determined as to who you want to win. So we'll see.
Do you have anything
thank you guys.
you want to share?
Not really. I just hope the best person wins, and we'll see who that is. I'm curious to see who the final 2 is. And hopefully they will all come on and talk to you guys and share their perspective, because what we see from our side is totally different than they see, and maybe the stuff I saw made sense to me, but to everyone else was like, oh no, if I kept Marcin, it would have been like the worst game move because he would have done this, this, and this, and these people did this. But who knows?
I'm not sure like what you'll be able to see in advance. I feel like before the jury roundtable, I think you'll know who the final head of household is. I don't think you'll know who is evicted yet. I think the final juror will be announced on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, of the schedule. So we will see you again if you are available. I believe it's noon on Saturday. We're all going to be doing a little roundtable and discussing everything that's gone on this season with the jury. So we will be talking to you again.
All right. And the one thing I'm curious about is, because Lindsay is on her camping trip right now, so she had to make all her decisions until Saturday ahead of time because she won't be back until Sunday. So I'm wondering if that influenced Brazil on voting me out or voting Lindsay. Maybe they already had a deal in place. And I'd also, if Lindsay comes home, like, I just wonder how she prepared for all that stuff, where, like, how did she feel that she couldn't really play the last 5 days? Like, she's playing on autopilot now.
Yeah, for sure. I feel as though what she has done, as she must have has a deal with both of them to whatever capacity. Like, she must have made some, like, well, if I went up, I don't know, she must have made some deals. And then she did complete her jury questions before she went out of town. So yes, both Brazil and Nick will have the opportunity to still talk regardless of which one of them win. So I would say that would definitely be a disadvantage to Lindsay for not being there. So
I want to know how many camping trips she
I know.
has this summer.
Well, this is the second one that I know about.
Also, I mean, camping in general, guys, like, I work hard so that I can pay rent and live in a place. I mean, it's anyway, questionable.
It's not for everyone. Not for everyone. Definitely not for you, Jonathan.
Not, but we knew that this was her vibe when we talked about her in the beginning, because she had tons of pictures of her outdoors and camping and stuff like that. So we knew that was her vibe.
Yeah.
Well, she said that she planned this and she didn't think she'd make it this far in the game. So
Yeah. Fair
this
enough.
was unexpected in both situations.
Fair enough.
Andrew should have listened to me as like he should have started it earlier. Pop, pop, pop. Anyways, well, unless you have anything else to say, we will say till Saturday. And it was so great having you to talk to us. There's not really another opportunity for you to come on. So thanks for sharing your season with us. We enjoyed watching you play. Sorry that you weren't able to make it all the way to the end, but you made it pretty much as far as anybody can go. So
thank you, guys. And I appreciate your time.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Marcin. Get back to the kiddos. Sorry you didn't win. So going back to the beginning of this week, man, I feel like a lot has gone on. And I guess a lot has gone on because everything has been amped up because it is the final week of competition and activity and change in votes and any of that. Like, this is the final week where stuff goes down. So going all the way back to last week when we had a special guest host. Your favorite friend is Tiffany. So,
Tiffany, hi.
Hi, Tiffany. You did have quite a bit to say. I mean, it was a pretty long episode, almost 45 minutes. And to be honest, I personally found it really enjoyable. Like, I thought it was going to be fast forwarding and maybe like not wanting to be fully engaged, but I watched the whole thing without feeling as though it was dragging. I was interested and entertained by the whole thing. So I liked it.
Yeah, and Andrew said he was very surprised at how he was expecting to have to edit it or bleep it or something, or that it was going to be more controversial than it was. And he was surprised at how tame it was comparatively to, I think, what he had imagined. So I watched the whole thing as well. I had lots to say, don't remember most of it, but I will tell you, Tiffany, who's not watching this, I'm sure, that the issue that I brought up was not a performative piece. It's something that I brought up, in speaking out against kind of what you were saying. It is something that is close to me. My mother has worked with acquired brain injury people for many years. It no longer does because people actually burn out in that industry. But and I was fortunate enough to participate in take your kid to work day type of with special houses that she had worked in. That's a language that is never been used. That is something that I know how offensive that is to family members and whatnot. So I was not okay with it. And it's something that I spoke to Andrew about privately. It wasn't something that I was trying to get attention for. And I brought that up right away. I was infuriated that was allowed. And I privately messaged him and said that I would walk away from the competition if that wasn't addressed. So that has nothing to do with trying to garner attention or play into anyone's anything. And so I wanted to be very clear on that. Having said that, I was glad that this 45 minutes or video was a lot tamer, and I also found it entertaining. And I hope Tiffany does play on All Stars. And if she wants a final two, hit me up.
Was this the offer of the season? This is a power duo being made. Maybe the foursome is going to be you, the final four deal. You, Tiffany, Chad, and
Charlene.
Charlene,
Yeah.
Maybe that's the final four.
You never know. It could be very dangerous.
It could be. Could be. Speaking of which, I just need to address it because it just reminded me of right now. Did you see what Chad said about, I'm assuming me, but he spelled my name incorrectly. So, about me voting for him to not be on All Stars is that I'm scared of him and Charlene, and he said something else. Did you see that?
Yeah, he said Dylan and Chantele voted no. Dylan is a giant loser, and Chantele is so scared of me and Charlene that she invited us onto her podcast, then bitched out when it came time. Charlene will back me up with that statement. I don't need any backup for the first statement. It's well-known fact, yes.
So
And then he told Krista to F off as well. So he's trying to stir the pot. Someone wants to be on All Stars.
So anyways, what did happen? So we did make like kind of like a general call out. I was communicating with Charlene a little bit about, available times. She had mentioned to me Thursday or Friday was her days off. And I asked her if she would be able, if she knew if Chad was able to do either of those days. She said she didn't know his schedule, but asked her for those 2 days. And I believe that you were communicating with Chad. So what happened after that? I just don't remember.
Yeah, it kind of, because I had asked him, so this is back in May, are you available Thursday to come on Reality Realness with Charlene, possibly? What time is it? I said, we will try to accommodate your schedule if you let me know when you are free Thursday or Friday. And he said, okay, let me see when I'm available, sir. And he never did.
Oh, so.
Right here.
Okay, so I remember I'm like, well, I remember we were putting in action towards this, and we had the dates that we were trying to work around, and
Yep.
it was never confirmed back on his end when he was available for me to go back to Charlene to arrange a time. Okay,
Yep.
so I don't know who's the bitch now, but it sure ain't me. Anyways, I wouldn't care for you to be on the show, Chad, just because you aren't fun to play with. And I like playing these as games because they're fun. I don't necessarily enjoy navigating around a toxic person. I wouldn't want to play Monopoly with you in real life. I wouldn't want to play cards with you in real life. And so why would I want to play a 3-month long game with somebody that I wouldn't want to play a half an hour game with in real life? So sorry, it sucks to suck, but that's where I'm standing, and you didn't want to come on the show because you were the bitch. So that's all I got to say. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, you never got back to us. I mean, I would have been interested in seeing them, but I would be interested in hearing what Andrew was assessing from their appearance on the show. But I mean, at the same time, I have been working the entire time full time in quarantine and isolation. I have not stopped once, so I don't have time to, unfortunately, like it's hard enough just putting this together and whatnot to chase people down who if you want to be a part of this, that's great, and if you don't, then so be it. I mean, we just don't have the time to kind of be on someone. And I'm not begging anybody to be on the show.
Absolutely not, especially to people that have not been kind to either one of us, really. So, like, I'd be like, please come on. Like, not excited about that. But what I was excited about, like, is even Tiffany is not impressed by the two of them. So, I mean, I think that's a barometer of their character for sure. Is that not anybody that has played with them or seen how they play really is excited, other than I guess Andrew, to see how they would do on All Stars. We might have talked about it before, but would you, if they were to play and you were playing, would you work with them, or do you think that you would target them?
I'm so screwed for All Stars. Like, I'm so screwed. It's just, I was like, Andrew's going to put on all the people who don't like me, and oh goodness. Yeah, I mean, I would be open to working with anyone who furthers my game. And that's the end of it.
No.
So I want to win, and I always want to win. So whatever that encompasses, if you think I have a grudge against you and you want me out, that's your mistake, because if you can work with me to get me further, then I'll want to get you further. And I'm fiercely loyal. So, yeah. And I do take every season as like clean slate as far as that's concerned. So I would hope that it's not the case, that people are out to necessarily get me. But yeah, I'd work with anybody potentially.
I mean, I think that's also, I mean, that's kind of how I feel, but I also do like enjoying talking with people, and I like strategizing with people. And a lot of times people are like, oh, well, you should keep them because, you know, they're not going to get the votes, or you should keep them because, like, you can always get them out. And yes, that is a sentiment that is true, but for me, my enjoyability, like enjoying the game, is more important to me, for the most part.
And if they act the same way and with the same involvement that we had, you know, in season 3, it would be the same result. You know what I mean? So it's like if they turn into, you know, someone who's really enjoyable to be around the next season for All Stars, and someone that talks to me a lot and we have common ground, then I mean, that's a whole new game. But if they play the exact same way, then yeah, we're not going to be connected. If you're going to be all over the place, I'm going to be afraid of that, and I'll want you out again.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly. So what else? Donnie? Who's Donnie?
Who is Donnie?
Oh, like I wrote down what the note was. Okay, so Andrew was talking about a boyfriend that he had, or like a guy that he went on 11 or 12 dates with, and then
today he was talking about him again too.
Pardon?
He was talking about him today, even.
Oh, I haven't watched today's yet. And so Tiffany was like, oh, you went on like one date, but like he's no, I went on 11 or 12. I don't know. We'll meet in the middle and say they went on 5 dates. And so he said that he came in and saw him in like a white gown, like meditating or something, listening to like some psychedelic, like ecstatic dance kind of music. But I was thinking, because Andrew's so sexual, like, why wouldn't he decide to go down the tantric sex, you know, realm with this kinky Donnie and see something, maybe of a spiritual journey that he could be having sexually with this man?
Well, Andrew, we actually have Donnie here on the show. If you want to let him in from the waiting room. No, we don't.
It was Donnie from season 16.
But I would be interested in hearing the other sides of things, especially with Andrew's story from today. I don't know if it's the same one, but he mentioned a boyfriend. And he's like, well, he didn't say it was a boyfriend because we were just seeing each other and it was 6 months and he didn't consider it that and whatever. I don't know if it's the same guy or a different guy, but I'm like, you know, it's one-sided to the story. So, I mean, you don't know what the other person would say. This poor other person is probably not watching this. So, I mean, I don't know.
But anyways, I think, Andrew, you should have allowed that to be an opportunity to go down the tantric sex angle. Were you mad at him for, because he brought up the whole kiss thing and he was basically saying like, yeah, right, you know, you wouldn't have made out with me?
Am I mad at? No, I would never be mad at you, Andrew. However, I think we spoke about this last time. I mean, that's my truth, and believe it, don't believe it. I mean, I was HOH, I think, that week, or POV or something, and that's all. I just like playing and having fun on these orgs, as we call them, online reality. Yeah.
So they were talking a little bit about how Joanne is scared of escalators, which I think is hilarious. And that Andrew's
have you seen those people who are afraid in like the mall or something? They get on it like it's a thing. They get on it like it's like 1901 and they've never seen such a mechanism in their life.
What's the fear, though? Is the fear that it's going to eat them up, like, or that they're going to fall, or like?
I don't know. It's like, I'm like, is it an equilibrium thing where they just can't like figure out the senses of it? I don't know, but I know people who are concerned about, you know, don't get your shoelaces or don't this. And I mean, even me, I'm like, oh, you know, keep an eye out, but I'm not overly concerned. And I probably don't even think about it. It's such a short journey.
I know, but it speeds up the journey so quickly. And Andrew's scared of hugs from women, which I thought.
Andrew's scared of hugs from women. Oh my God, I don't even remember that, but I'm scared of hugs from anyone. So,
like COVID days.
Oh, this is like my whole life days. Yes, it's like, just don't touch me. Thank you.
Do you have any actual phobias?
Oh yeah. I mean that. But that's a preference. But Phobias are more realistic. One is heights, terrified of heights and flying. I mean, you do not want to see me on a plane. I usually, freak out and almost get kicked off, but and it's a thing. And I'm medicated and it doesn't help. And then the other one would be balloons. I love the popping. I love balloons. I love the colors. I love the idea of it from afar.
Did you have a traumatic experience when you were a child? Or
no, maybe a past life. I don't know. But it's balloons and the popping. Like, the worst thing you can do is have balloons within like 3 feet of me or something. That's like a 2 meters away situation for me, is balloons. It's just and a little child or an animal with a balloon or something like that. I'm like, get me out of this house. I can't be anywhere near it. So it really bothers me.
I don't really have any phobias, but I remember I had a cat when I was living in Montreal. So this is like, at least 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more, 10, 11 or 12. And my friend had just had a baby. And so my cat was terrified of this little, like, 18-month-old that was walking around. She'd be like, it's like baby. She's just terrified of. I think it's because she's so close to her size.
Yeah, it's like a little human. It's like, what happened to this one?
What's happening? And so my cat would cower in fear over this cute little baby that was just like, da, la, 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 la.
Wait, so you don't have any phobias yourself?
I don't think so.
What a life that must be.
I mean, I can imagine not doing. I mean, I don't really want to be buried alive, because I don't know if I've told you that story yet.
No.
I'll tell you maybe offline. Yes.
Okay. All right.
But that might be the only thing that I would be scared of.
When I was 7, I was accidentally locked in a casket. No, it's like, I'm like, what happened? Okay. I mean, right. I mean, I would be scared of being chopped up to pieces. So, I mean, it's valid.
Yeah, that and drowning I'm not really that excited about, but I'd still go swimming, like I'd still go on boats. I went scuba diving. It was hell, but I still did it. So, I mean, these are things that I don't particularly love, but I would still, like, it wouldn't be debilitating, I'd still.
Yeah. With swimming, I have that, like, overconfidence, because I grew up with a pool and I'm very comfortable swimming. I used to tread water for hours. I had nothing to do, for fun. And I understand currents are stronger than you could ever be sometimes, and little things like that. But I have it in my head. I'm like, if I was on a beach and this was happening, you swim diagonally towards shore. You know what I mean? I just think I'm like stronger than Superman when it comes to that, even though I'm not, and I'm sure I'd drown. But
I have been taken by the current before. My dad used to live on like Newport Beach. And so we'd go visit for the summer or for Christmas, whatever. And like, obviously you just go to the beach every day. And so like I was taken out by the current once, and like I just was like, I just remember no, don't fight it, just allow yourself to just be taken out to wherever you are. Like I remember thinking that stuff, like, but you might die, but you might die, but you might die. But like I just remember just like not trying to fight the current, just allow myself to just like roll with it. And like I was taken out super far, but then I just swam back. But like it was scary.
I believe, not an expert, so I'm not announcing this, but I believe people often drown because they tire themselves out and just panic, and it's a result of then getting water in their lungs and drowning, essentially. But yeah, water doesn't scare me in the least bit, other than like what lurks beneath. Fun fact, don't know if I've ever told you this story, off topic, but so my family has some cottages, and there was I believe it's a firefighter from Toronto or surrounding area, when I was really young, who lived a couple doors down, and he killed his wife, and he had taken her out in a boat. And I tend to remember it as a canoe boat, but I mean, that's not stable. So I can't remember what exactly, but I remember seeing him with like a rolled up like carpet type thing that he dumped her in, out in there, and like we're all waving like hello and hi, and that's when it happened. So for the longest time, for a few years after that, I was worried that I was going to, I think they found her body, but I was worried that I was like going to be pieces of her floating bodies kind of in Lake Simcoe. So anyway.
That would be terrifying. Like I'd be terrified, like, because people find body parts and stuff like that all the time. Like just
yeah.
washing up on shore, or like that wouldn't be something I would like to have.
It sits, you know, it didn't even happen, but it sits with me for a few years afterwards, and yeah.
I don't necessarily want to talk about this too much, but Andrew, don't watch Fox News. Fox News is the worst.
So I mean,
not funny. I just don't want you to.
You know what their agenda is. So
what?
I said, you know what their agenda is. So
it's because like I understand how it can be maybe humorous, but like they brainwash in their, like, they're convincing. Anyways, please, Andrew, stop watching Fox News. Tucker Carlson is the devil. He's the enemy. He's the enemy. He came for Elmo. Like, who comes for Elmo? Like, Tucker, I can't have you. Anyways, that's all I want to say about that. Ugh. So, what's her name? Tiffany said that she didn't think that, or maybe it was Andrew, one of the two of them, obviously, said that she didn't think that Lindsay and I would have aligned. But I'm actually, I'm going to disagree with that, because I think that Lindsay and I would get along quite well, because we like rationalizing and talking things through. And I think that we would be able to strategize together. I don't think that we would be on a different page.
No, I think your issue with the fact that you didn't connect closely with Krista, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but is the fact is how she was specifically playing the game, and how she was like distracted and just, you know, I think Lindsay's actually closer to a Caitlyn. And so, and obviously you got along great with Caitlyn. So, yeah, I also disagree with Tiffany on that, and think that you would absolutely, I think if you were in this season, it would 100% be like you, Lindsay, Nick, you know, Brazil, 100%.
Like, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, I'm sorry, Ryan, but I feel as though we would have kept you as long as we could, but I don't think that he would have been able to get further than his superpower if I were playing this particular season. Like, other season, who knows? But how things were going, I don't think so. Kat, though, I might have been able to work with, especially because we have our birthdays in a similar month. And so I find that I'm able to communicate quite well with other people that are Aquarius. And so we might have found, if we found that common ground early enough, we may have. Why? What are you laughing at?
Look, I know you didn't watch today's video, but 15 minutes of today's video is Andrew going through all the signs of
of the house guests.
Because Caitlyn had posted something online somewhere. I didn't see that, but yeah. So he says what everyone is, and then read what.
That's going around. I know which one I think I know which one it is that she posted, but it's like, it says some like real traits, and then it says like, you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think I know.
I learned Ashley is a Libra.
Oh, we knew that. I thought we knew that.
Me and Ashley.
She told me.
Oh, because I was like, Ashley's a Libra, like I am.
Yes, she did tell me that. Are you sure I didn't tell you?
I don't know. I don't remember things. You know that, but
yeah, Ashley's a Libra. Marcin's a Capricorn. Lindsay's a Gemini. Nick's a Gemini. Brazil's a Pisces. Ryan's a Capricorn. Kat's
I think you went through it in like one of the first videos, maybe like a little bit. You talked about some people and how they were, whatever they were, and how that affected your draft pick. Maybe that's where I heard.
If I could find it out, yes, I definitely.
Yeah.
Well, kind of. I didn't know. I don't know what Curtis's is. Do you remember what he said? What Andrew said?
Oof, no, I don't remember.
Okay. Don't know what Curtis's is. Don't know what Brenda's and the other.
But like 15 minutes, legit. He went through that today. So
I'm gonna look at that because I find that extremely interesting, of course. And
he gave you a shout out. So.
Boom. Aquarius for life. So with that, I don't remember what was the competition, but Lindsay ends up winning head of household here. Do you remember what the competition was? So long ago.
Lindsay won HOH based on, oh my God, Andrew's gonna make fun of us.
Was that poker? Poker. No?
Was it the poker one? The card one?
You mean poker? She won that. She did win. I think that's that.
But I don't know.
We'll say it's BB poker. If we're wrong, Andrew will come for us. So we're on to day 74. This is where Andrew kind of mentions that there was no comments about Tiffany, and it's because actually Tiffany, I found her to be pleasant. She was opinionated, but like I think that she was kind. Like I mean, I think that she has bite and she has her own opinions and she's strong in what she stands for, but I don't think she was intentionally mean to anybody. And so I think that's why nobody really responded negatively to her, because I think she came across quite nice.
You know, I do think that when someone's actions are reinforced by the people around them, they continue with that type of behavior or actions. And I do think she's probably known for being the one who speaks her mind and has this shock value to her. So I do think that she leans into that instead of, not, because people around her probably enjoy that. Andrew, I think I remember him saying that she had worked like 11, 12-hour shift or whatever. So she was probably tired, and that's probably what helps things keep her a little calm. But yeah.
So look what we got here. Who dat?
Oh,
hey.
God.
Like you're larger than I am. Is this a race thing?
I thought we got rid of you.
No, I'm still. This is the twist. I'm back.
Oh, damn it.
Not evicted. Sorry.
Oh, and you have like a 5 o'clock shadow.
I've been wearing this all day, so I get to hide behind my 5 o'clock shadow.
How are you? Who are you?
I mean, really disliking life at the moment. Just finished the hottest day of the year on a patio, working clearly.
Sweaty balls?
Should not have made great money, but I should not have left like this early. I was like, gotta go, done. I've had enough. You've all started at 1. I've been here since 10 o'clock. Bye. How's everything going?
Do people call someone sick with COVID?
No, not with COVID. Hangover sick.
Oh, 3 people?
Yeah. So we went from 6 to 3.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, cool. I'm just gonna open by myself and cry into like an iced tea every once in a while.
But didn't they only bring like a small portion of the staff back?
They brought 12 back initially out of 66.
Well, that's a good pick of 12 when 3 of them are hungover drunk. I'm like, good choices, guys. Good choices.
They fired 1 today. Second time it's happened, calling in sick. So there's more than enough people that want to work. I am not one of those people, but
how do they know that they're hungover?
Well, they were all on Instagram together last night, 6 o'clock in the morning, posting.
And
it's like, clearly you're calling in sick.
Yeah, and if you call in sick, you kind of have to, like, with today's climate, you kind of have to be like, it's not COVID. It's not, I don't have this. You probably have to be more specific.
Yeah, like, I would have loved to know where today, clearly, but, I'm not going to call in sick because that messes up how many other people's days. How's everything going? Did you interview Marcin?
Marcin.
How'd it go?
Marcin, that was great. And then right now we just finished, we were talking about the week coming up. And so we've been talking about Tiffany and how we found her enjoyable. I found her enjoyable. I mean, it could be also that she likes me, but like, I thought that she was likable, and she would be someone that I would probably work with if I were to play a season with her.
I'm going to have a final 2 with her next season.
Congratulations. I will vote for you to win, Jonathan.
We saw the comment, but we did also spoke about the fact that that Chad said that I was a bitch because we invited him on the show, but then didn't follow through. But we actually determined that he was the one that didn't follow through with his availability check. So he dropped the ball.
Get over it. Get over Chad. We say to Karen. Karens and Chads all around.
Exactly. So yeah, we're on day 74. And basically Ryan states that he thinks obviously that everything is a bad move and that Brazil was not going to finish any higher than 5th. So what do you think about Ryan saying that in the jury chat last week?
Spoiler alert. To be honest, it's funny to me that people are giving Brazil like this. They're not giving her any credit whatsoever. I know I don't want to fast forward, Are we there yet?
Yeah.
No. Okay, good. Brazil's playing her own game. Like, she is playing. Brazil is a fan of this game. She's not willy-nilly showing up like some people that might finish 5th or 4th. Yeah, I think she did a switch when she needed to.
I think the issue with her is that people don't understand what her game is currently.
Sure.
And so if she does a good job with explaining that and makes it to the final 2, I do think she has a chance at winning. But I think as much as like Marcin said that who he wants to win is kind of set and he doesn't think he'll be swayed with the speeches.
Right.
I mean, I think people think that overall, and some may not, but I do think that there's room for people to be convinced otherwise. And I think that's for Brazil. It's going to be super important to have an excellent, really speech explaining kind of her game.
Yeah, for sure. I think like when it comes to jury, anyone's entitled to vote however they want for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It could be like how someone made you feel, what the experience meant to them in 85 days, or if it means that you hate someone more. When it came to our season, like, it was pretty clear that I was Team Chantele. And not to discredit Alvin whatsoever, because I do think Alvin played a great game. There was just no possible way that I would have not voted for Chantele. I think there could have been people that went back and forth. And I do think final 2 speeches matter. I think jury questions matter. Please, jury, come up with great questions. Something original. What?
Come up with them. Well, because Lindsay had to go out of town, so she wanted to get the jury questions before she went camping for the weekend. So the jury questions were already submitted, apparently, and she's like 3 hours from, like service.
Wow. Okay. I would have loved to have. I'm sure you would have loved to have a couple of days with your jury questions.
Yeah. I mean, so I don't know. Yeah. I mean,
no shade to Lindsay, but
they took that into consideration, though. Like Andrew did, knowing that this was happening. Like, I think he knew in advance that this was happening, and Lindsay, none of them projected that she was going to make it this far. Yeah. So I think that he still gave them maybe a couple of days, but it may have been a little bit longer. And she would have. I don't know. I think it's unfortunate that the final 3 can't be really talking to each other about who they're going to take to the end. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like, okay, well, this is my pitch, guys. Bye. We'll see what happens. I'll see if I win when I get back. Like,
or even like to get to celebrate together. Like we would have loved to celebrate that final 3, but
right.
More cheers and smiles all around.
So Ryan says that there's no such thing as a bitter jury. What do you think about that comment?
Yeah, there's definitely such thing as a bitter jury. Of course.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's different levels of being bitter. For sure. Like, some people can look past that. You're allowed to be a bitter Betty. You're allowed to. As a juror member, you're allowed to do whatever the fuck you want. Excuse my
and I think then that's exactly my point about, like, if someone leaves being a bitter in the jury, that is part of your game too. And so, like, I don't know if we were talking about this on camera or not. I don't know who I was talking about. I was talking about this with somebody today. But the fact that, like, if you don't make people want to vote for you in the end, it doesn't mean you played the best game, but they were bitter. It means you didn't play the best game, but you got to the end.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I can't reward Paul because he didn't get the votes. He didn't win in the end both times because he didn't get the votes. He didn't do what it took for him to get to the end. And same with Ryan. Like, he had a great game up until he was voted out. So he doesn't have the best game to win because he didn't win the game.
Right. The game's not over until someone's crowned. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So
I think it sometimes takes away from the winner when people say it was a bitter jury. No, it's not, because you know who's going to be on your jury. If you're at Final 5, you know the people that were voted up before you. You know who's around you. You have to be well prepared to say, yeah, I know 2 of these people definitely aren't going to vote for me, or figure out a way to make them vote for you. Well, but you also have to hold on to who you think you might have.
That's why I love your jury question. I think that you use it kind of like that's your go-to question.
I love it. Yes.
If you remember, Jonathan, he says he asked them to rank the jurors in order of who they think will vote
most likely to vote for you to least vote likely to vote for you, and why.
Oh, I have to
just
go
for
back
your own.
and reread that.
Yeah, it just gives like, I want to see like your perception of your game, how you viewed other people, and I think like it kind of, if you play it like, but then you can also play with that answer. It doesn't have to be the right answer. It can be an answer that might gain you a vote. Yeah, it could literally gain you a vote.
Absolutely. So I love that question, and I think that I think that video juries, yes, is a thing, but I think it's also shows the player as well. Like whoever loses to a bitter juror wasn't the better player. They just weren't.
Of course.
That's
I 100% agree.
That's my thought. So Lindsay nominates Marcin and CJ. Did you really see any? I didn't really see any other way here.
Yeah, I think those three have been working together for a while, and why would she do anything else?
They played the BB Knighted game, which I was like, I never really got to play my version of that one this season.
I know.
Don't even get me started. Like, it was really upsetting. And yeah, I have opinions about that. But anyways, and it was kind of based off of BBUS 6, which is basically could be my first or second favorite season of all time. And that was the episode of all time when Kate's like, it's not you I'm going for, it's your partner, or it's not your life in the game, it's your partner's life. Yes. Something like that. And I was like, it's the drama, and it's knighted, and I'm like, oh my god, it was such a good thing that he said to Maggie. It was so good. Her face was like, your partner's sealed your fate. No, you sealed my fate.
No, I sealed your partner's fate.
That's it.
Cappy.
I just got goosebumps. I love that moment so much. So, I mean, it didn't really play out the exact same way as that one did. But yeah, they had some trivia questions. So if they got stuck and they got locked in, they would have a trivia question that would allow them, if they got it right, they can switch positions to someone that was doing better in the game with them at that moment. So I thought that was a good twist. And if you knew your knowledge, it would be useful. But 3 out of 4 of them got incorrect answers for those trivia questions. Yeah. What's going on? I mean, I don't feel as though these questions were any more challenging than ours were, but we also didn't even know how hard to study. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we, at that time, we didn't know, but like, we've been telling him since day one. Like, Jonathan has been adamant about stuff.
And I have this thing, though, with us, though, because we were so competitive within each other, and we knew, and I knew, and we had, earlier questions. Oh, look. Oh, okay. That's Union. But we knew that, I think we brought each other up, is what I'm saying, because we were like, oh, this person knows all this. We need to know this. We need to, you know what I mean? And then this season, because they've been doing so poorly with the questions, I don't know if it's had a competitive edge to it to want to allow anyone to like really kind of, work that much harder towards it. For me, you guys knowing your stuff, I was like, I need to be on this, as good as I can be, right? Yeah. So maybe that's the difference. I don't know.
But Jonathan, you definitely at the beginning, you were on top of your notebook from the very get-go.
Yeah.
You were, though. Yeah. Like, you were on top of your stuff.
Well, just because my experience with when I played the Mole 2008, it was I kept a book, and I needed every piece of information I had. Yep. So when I played that online, and so that was my intention going into this, was to take notes about everything. And I know how poor of a memory I have that I need to take notes. So
just remind yourself.
If I were to play again, I mean, Andrew, I just won't do anything the same, because like he just wants to screw us all over and make us take notes for nothing. But I will be even more, like, I'll be better at my note taking, because like
it's like Andrew blinked 5,800 times in the first 17 minutes of the video.
He will be. It will be a question. It will be a question. You know that.
I sneezed earlier on in the season. What day? Well,
What
yeah.
day did I sneeze? It's true.
It's so true. So Nick ends up winning this this competition, and he doesn't use the veto on either of them. So I really didn't see the veto being used unless CJ or Marcin were to win. So that wasn't really a surprise to me. You guys?
Yeah, it was typical. I think what we expect. I think really it comes down to now, like we know how it's going to play out, depending just on who wins. I think for the most part. So it's yeah, it's all coming down to competitions. So close to the end. Oh my god.
No, it's shocking. It's shocking. So we're at day 76 pretty much. CJ is evicted from the Cheesecake House 2-0.
Peace.
Pardon me?
Peace.
Peace. Yeah. Is that all we're going to say? Deuces?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'm actually thrilled though that the voice is gone, to be fair, because every time Andrew said, Chantele, you're gonna fast forward this, I think like 9 out of 10 times I was like just
Ready.
right when he called it. Like
Not her. Not
Like
her
on your
fault.
phone, you're like 10
Voice.
seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds. You just see Andrew doing all this.
I'm just so happy that I wasn't on the show because, or like doing the season, because like you'd have to watch it. At least I was able to fast forward most of it because I just needed to know the general content of the episode. I didn't need to watch any specifics. So I'm very happy that for at least the next week that voice is retired. At least a little bit, other than maybe the jury questions. But
unless she gets a recipe somewhere.
Or she's probably not even going to submit a jury question. She'll probably be like, I don't care.
Yeah, fuck her. Not her.
Do you think that, but do you think though that it was a big deal for Brenda to have left for that 24 hours? I know that that was a comment. I think it was CJ was saying that it wasn't fair that Brenda was able to clear her head and then come back into the game. Do you think that that was unfair?
No. I mean, every game, something different can happen. And that's never happened before. I'm not sure if it's happened before, but I think,
well, here's the thing.
Brenda went home. She went home. It's done.
It's like we're not actually in any house, so you can just not answer your phone for like 24 hours on your own accord and
turn off the volume.
Yeah, mute it. You know how many times I muted people where I'm like I can't, and sometimes you're just in a certain energy, or you're mad at somebody, and you're like, if I speak right now, it's not going to benefit me in any which way, shape, or form. So mute. I don't want to see it on my phone. I don't want any of it. And then I will get back to people when I get back to people.
Exactly.
I mean,
so I do think that she, like, if it were me, kind of like you just said, Jonathan, is that I would just like take a break. I don't think I would say that I'm quitting and I want to leave. And then
I wouldn't announce it. I don't know why I think when we spoke to her about it, she was just like, didn't understand.
I'm filming a podcast. You're not in it. Don't worry.
Oh my God.
They want to be in it?
Podcast.
They might want to be in it.
I'll be back.
What's happening?
I don't know. It's crazy Toronto people. We're like trying to listen in.
Did you burn it?
Okay, well, we'll just go on while Jojo gets arrested for filming somebody by accident. I'm like
I think
listening.
it looks like it burned.
It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't like
Oh, I don't think I can hear Jojo over you, so I can't hear you.
I was gonna pause it, but then now I'm gonna keep it.
Keep it all. Hi, Karen.
The characters you made. She had a big boil in her hand. She was like, "Sir, help me! I can't help you with a boil. Did you burn yourself, girl?"
Ew, she's coming at you with like an open wound.
See, that's what you get for being. What?
Like this big, like pustule.
This is what you get for being so approachable, Jojo. I mean, I'm like
outside of your house. Like nobody's out. It's a pandemic, Jojo. Why are you outside?
Because I just finished work and I try to be as fast as possible. Look, literally work is right there. No. There.
Yeah, I see it.
And I get free Wi-Fi, so I'm like hiding over here. Oh, good. This is empty, I think. I'm safe.
And somebody else is going to show you some warts and boils. I was just mentioning how it was pretty impressive that 53 days went by without another operator being evicted. And so, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I mean, we did it too. From like final 10 to final 4, no operator. I think, I think Marcin and CJ were there for a reason. As simple as that. I do think Nick, Lindsay, and Brazil had a plan and they executed it well. I think CJ and Marcin were probably the easiest people to beat in the final 2 or in a competition. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he explained what the next competition is, and I didn't get to play this one my season, but it was the Big Brother Jeopardy! Well, this is him explaining it, but we can just talk about the competition.
Yes.
We were invited in to watch this live, which was pretty exciting. We didn't end up playing along as like I kind of was thinking like if I knew in advance that I would be kind of playing along, I might have just prepared a little bit better to but.
I mean, I just got a notification on my phone. I'm like, what am I doing in the Big Brother season 4 house? I don't understand what's happening.
Shocker.
No, like, hello, welcome, nothing. It was just straight in there. I'm like, can I speak? What do you want me to do?
Jojo?
Sorry, everyone's asking me, like, where's the main entrance? I don't know, girl.
Can you stop looking
right
so damn friendly? I'll teach you. No one asks me for anything outside.
So we were in this, and we all got to watch, and we didn't get really clarification as to whether we could say anything or not, so we just didn't. But we did chat amongst each other on the side, and house guests, we were disappointed. Why are you guys so bad?
Can I underline in bold and italicize so bad? Because it was bad.
Because
and you, Chantele, had posted our results from last year, showing them what the numbers were comparatively. Yeah.
It was a big difference.
Big difference.
Nick won this competition with $400, and everybody else was either 0. Obviously, CJ was 0. Was CJ? Marcin was. Wait.
Marcin was 0.
Sorry, Lynn was 0 in our season. Marcin and Brazil were both in the negative. Yeah. And I was just really disappointed because, for me, part of Big Brother is the competitions at the end to see what you remember, what you've learned, what you can recall. And we've been mentioning the study portion. And so I just thought that people would have been better at some of I found them to be kind of simple. Like if I had my chart next to me of okay, week 1 was this person and this person. Okay, answer is what is, who is, etc.
Maybe it's the organizing that some of them were doing, or if it was I used a journal. I did pen and paper. I know other people do online switching back and forth. So it could have been that. It could also just be being bad at competitions.
Yeah, you also had a different tactic. You were going for the big numbers right away so that you knew that the smaller ones wouldn't matter. And Jojo won obviously with what was 4,800, 50, I don't even know.
It was something like that, but then we just played for fun after that because I just had so much that there was no way to.
Yeah, and then I came in second.
And then the other boys were in the negative.
They were in the negative, yeah.
But we also did this at Final 5 and not at Final 4.
Well, we did it
Final 6.
No, you did at Final 6 because I was playing, yeah.
You were there.
Yeah. But it would have made it more competitive in that sense. You know what I mean? It would be easier for Nick to, or at least for them to all have three high scores, because there would be more.
I understand what Brazil was doing because she was at a moment where she needed to go after those big answers to get there. So it's either go big or go home kind of a situation. So I understood the fact that when she found herself a little bit behind, and at that point Nick was doing rather well.
Brazil was also millisecond. It would be Nick Brazil. Nick Brazil. Same answer. I'm it could have went either.
Or even Brazil Nick. Yeah.
They were both on top of it.
Well, I think I learned that both of them are not great at answering questions quickly. Like whether they had the correct answers or not, like they allowed them to get frazzled and submit the wrong ones. When if they just took both of them, just took one extra second and just thought it through one extra second and came through with the correct answer, I think that they both would have done a lot better, and it might have been a little bit more comparable high scores. So lessons to both of you. If you guys, either of you ever play this version of Cheesecake again, is just take a breath before you respond. If you want to respond, like I played other games before, and you go trying to go wrong and strong, like sometimes because you want to be the speed, but I think in Jeopardy, when you get penalized for being wrong, you need to be correct.
You just need to like live it in your head a little bit more, because I know for me when I was playing it like it was yesterday, I remember that Jojo was so quick on it that I just had to go for it, and I had it finished with a great score too, but it was instinctual, the questions that I was getting right. I just knew they were right.
Yeah.
Whereas like these people, even if you're taking great notes, I'm like, you guys have to review them. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'll look them up the day of. I'm like, no, you need to read them over, absorb, and really. And so I don't know. I was definitely disappointed this season with how the lack of instinctual knowledge, let's call it, was displayed. I just don't think there was much.
Yeah, like there's definitely was like stuff that I knew without having to.
Yeah.
For sure. Especially when drawing up. Well, I guess we'll talk about it shortly. But like when I was submitting answers for that staircase, like a lot of it I knew off the top of my head, and
it was figuring out where they went.
Yes, and that one question that I should have just gone over it, but like where I was for like our season was like I was like waiting for my plane, like it was just such an awkward place for me to just be like, I was just like trying new combinations. I didn't take the time just because it was awkward to go back and look to make sure that I had every single possibility for each answer. And so it
was question number 1 and question number 25.
Yeah.
I remember number 1 being like, I was so sure it was right, and it was right. It just wasn't right for staircase. It doesn't mean that like these questions are wrong. It's just the combination has to work out fully.
Well, the only one that I didn't have all the information for was the Chad answer. I was like, fuck, but I know that. Like, I knew he didn't play, but I just looked at he was up for, that was supposed to play, and I just used those answers. And so I was like...
I have something. I remember I didn't play, but because I was kind of playing for Lynn. But I was at work, and then I rushed home. But she told me that she only had a set amount of... Like, you're only allowed submitting 3 times.
It changed because I wasn't going to be around to change the amount of times that you could submit.
Well, that's not what I was working with, Lynn, because she said we only had 3 submissions.
We did at that point.
I think Lynn accidentally submitted one as well. She submitted one herself with like 12 answers by mistake.
No, I think it was
the first one.
Yeah, I didn't do Lynn's first one, that's for sure. But
Andrew knew that somebody was doing it for her because, like, the first time she submitted, it was like the format was all messed up and weird, and like it didn't really make that much sense. And then the second time around, it was like, very good.
It was very challenging trying to steer Lynn in the right direction for these, but I definitely didn't.
No surprise.
I definitely didn't start her first one for her, and then I was working with such limited. Things, because I was like, oh, we only have 2 more shots at this.
No, and so he did change it to that. So we had like, I don't know how many it was in total, but originally it was supposed to be like theirs.
We did?
So we have like whatever 5 hours.
We had 3 tries.
But
yeah.
So,
and then I was just like, fuck it, this is my last try.
So I only had 1, and then I could like rework it for a third one, and that's all I had. So I mean, it was very limited because she did the first one on her own. So
yeah. But if we had the same stipulations as they did, like if I wasn't traveling that particular day and we had the whole evening to be able to submit, I would have by then been like, okay, if I'm getting the same number, even though I've changed all the answers pretty much. That means that I'm missing a person in a place.
Yeah, how could you not do well with that? Because then you'd be like, so I would be sitting there and be like, submit this one change. Is it better or is it worse? No, then submit this one change. Is it better or is it worse? Like, how could you not just do that? I didn't understand that.
Do it like that. He wasn't really responding from what I heard very quickly. So, anyways, I love that competition, but I don't know if we're there yet. So day 77, CJ enters the jury house. And yes, I did fast forward CJ entering the jury house. And since Nick was the head of household now, he nominates Lindsay and Marcin. I'm assuming to keep Brazil and him as being two players that were never
I've never.
So I thought that was surprising in the sense that I know that this round is all about who wins the veto,
Right.
but I thought it was interesting that he put up Lindsay. I'm sure that they talked about it, but
Yeah.
Oh God,
I'm sure it was all talked about, and like you said, it completely just depends on who wins veto, so it almost doesn't matter other than like stats, so yeah.
And so he gives the rules to the staircase. That's pretty much. Oh yeah, he thought that the staircase record was going to be broken, and so I think though, Andrew, what needs to be said then, since all the results have been going down, is that I think that being tricky is actually not benefiting the results of the game. Like, yes, it's cool to have like a trick answer that you have to remember that this person didn't vote this week or something like that. Like, of course you're going to have something that might trip people up, but it seems as though having too many of them, it really just like
muddies the results.
Again?
It just gets a little muddy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and like he's not going to get like he should want to have someone figure it out, right? Like, that would be the goal if I were a puzzle maker. I would want it to make it so clear that people would figure it out instead of it being like wording, semantics, and one of the questions was something like didn't hold head of household and veto in the same week or something like that, and it took Lindsay out of the equation because she didn't actually win, or anyways, it was just like
it was given
semantics. And yes, it's true, you have to be very meticulous and you have to read it correctly, but making it super clear will garner better results, and people will be able to do a better job at playing this particular game well. And so I would just ask for future Andrew, because I love the competition itself, but I feel as though making the questions a little bit more clear will be more enjoyable for the players instead of just like frustrating, because you're just like, what am I missing? Did I miss a word here? Like it would just, I think it would bring more game into it, and it would be more competitive for people getting that right answer. It'll be more of a time thing, like, okay, I got all 32, like who was the fastest or whatnot,
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys think.
I think that's fair.
I don't mind it being tricky. Like, I honestly don't mind it being, I just don't think you can compare each season, because obviously the answers are very different, and how tricky it is depends on how it was made up. So, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily fair to compare each season to what it is, but personally, I don't mind if they're super tricky and you only get 10 out of 32 right, or it's just, it would be more of a challenge for me. But I do feel like these were a little trickier this season.
Well, like the words, like I didn't say won, I said had or held.
Yeah, it was, I mean, that's the thing. It's like tricky's fine, but like being like such a small little nothing that no one would get right is kind of, I think that's what you're saying, is like, if no one's ever going to get that right, then why bother having that as one of the questions? Have tricky ones that can be figured out, but need some thought and and some trials and tribulations kind of a thing.
Like that we'd have to kind of go through, like, okay, so what does Andrew consider to be someone with a veto? Is it somebody that held the veto, or someone that gave the veto to somebody else, or was it somebody that had the opportunity to veto but they didn't take that prize? Like, it just gets so sticky with like wording that it becomes separate from doing well in the game with your knowledge. It's just figuring out whether or not he's considering this to be this or this to be that. What is his lexicon of like terminology? So
I think if you have to ask a question about the question, then that's a question not to use. If that makes sense. Like, plain as day, if there's an ABC follow-up question to this one question, cut gone. Edit.
All the questions that people didn't get correct, they all had questions about that question. So going with what you're saying, it's indicative that it either needs to be rephrased or it needs to be taken out and replaced with something that's more clear.
Yep.
I agree. Because like the one that we got wrong, it wasn't really semantics. Like it was a lapse of judgment where like I was like, frack, that's so true. Like he did not play those competitions.
Right.
It's true. I didn't include him, and that is completely true, and that was completely at fault. But a couple of theirs, I was just like her and the lemon thing. I was like, I don't know, that's not fair, really. Like,
But Marcin said that he got the lemon thing, right?
I don't think anybody got the lemon thing.
I thought he said he knew it right off the bat or something. I don't know.
He didn't know it off the bat.
I'm not paying attention. Really. I have to go in a few minutes anyway. Can I skip? I don't know how long we're gonna be, but can I skip ahead?
Yeah, we're pretty much done. So yes, we end up getting the results. So it was 8 out of 32 for Marcin, 10 out of 32 for Lindsay. Then between Nick and Brazil, Nick got 15 out of 32, and Brazil wins this veto with 18 out of 32. So that was pretty competitive. Like I think I got 17 or 18. You got 19?
Yeah, you were 18. Yeah, you were 18.
So yeah, like if you can't get one of those things, you're never gonna do any better, really. It's just not possible. So that sucks, but she's still a respectable score for sure.
Yeah.
So now she has the sole vote to evict. So do you think that, we can talk about this now. Do you think she did the right thing with voting to evict Marcin, voting to evict Marcin?
No.
See, I think yes. But you go first.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Vote to evict Lindsay. What's wrong with you? Lindsay's on my team, but I want her to win. But what's wrong with you? It's like vote to evict Lindsay. Marcin's not going to win. Sorry. He even said it. Vote to evict Lindsay. You get a big person out that would look great on the jury. It's someone who's less likely to win the final three. If for whatever reason Marcin can throw you something in the final three HOH, I mean, he will, just to be appreciative, and he knows that you're going to take him over Nick. And so I thought that was crazy, but I don't know. I don't know.
I initially was thinking like, take Lindsay out. Sure, Lindsay's a great competitor too, but I feel like Brazil knows if it's her, Marcin, and Nick at the end, Marcin's making the final two regardless. That's an automatic guarantee for one person to be sitting in the final two. If you go to the final three with a group of three that have worked together and there are assumptions being made from the jury, or you're not really sure where someone may stand or what they're saying, you might have a better opportunity to fit into their final two. So I think voting out Marcin was sending someone to the jury who hasn't played a deserving game to win, in my opinion. Sorry, Marcin, I know that's rude, but it's the truth. I think these three have played similar enough that they can, as long as they can explain it at the final two, they can kind of own up to their games and what they've done. So I don't think it was a bad move to take.
I see your road. I just think it's a lot riskier. And
100%.
I just feel as if that was, although Marcin would be guaranteed a spot in final two, yes. But would it be easier to win that spot next to him? Yes. And so I think her sitting next to Lindsay and or Nick, if I was sitting in jury, I'd be voting for the other person. So I mean, I don't know.
Games that like I play a little bit different than I would if I was in the Real House. In the Real House, I'm probably going to take the CJ or the Marcin to the final two because I would be taking someone that I could win against for sure. I think that when you start developing friendships and like making final three packs, and it's only going to affect you after the game. Sometimes I think that they make different choices than they would if $500,000 is on the line. So I think that they made a final three pact that she wanted to honor and stand behind, because she wouldn't want Lindsay to go and taint the jury maybe about like we promised each other, like I didn't put her up for this reason. Like I think that spoiling the jury in that sense of like it would probably go against her winning in the end. And so I think that she wants to stay loyal and maybe keep that vote and, you know, potentially keep more votes.
Just to like, just to bring it back to our season for a second, only because I did win the veto at Final Four. Evicting Lynn was going to happen. Would I have loved Lynn to have been in the final three with Chantele and I? Absolutely.
Yeah, but did we all think you were crazy in the jury that you didn't vote to evict someone else other than Lynn? We did.
You thought it was crazy?
We all did. We all did.
But I also thought, out of the two of us, I thought Chantele and I were the only people I would want to win the game at that point. So, you know, things do, not that they change, but when you look around and say, if I don't win, who do I want to win? I would have rather Chantele win than Alvin, clearly. Yeah. And I would have hated to go to the final three with Alvin and Lynn. Ideally, Alvin wouldn't have been the head of household at Final Four. So that would have been my ideal situation, going into the final three, knowing that I would be taken by both people. With this group of, with this trio, I don't necessarily know who's going to take who.
Right.
We might assume, but we don't know for sure until it happens.
I really got to run. Sorry to cut this
short. Good. Yeah, we've been talking for a long time. We might discuss the final three, maybe today, or we'll see what
I'm gonna go. Yeah. But did we talk about this with Marcin, or was this?
Oh, not really. So what we're gonna do, guys, is we are going to put a poll up in the Big Brother Cheesecake forum, and all the house guests that chose to participate with an exit interview with us on Realnesss, and out of those, I guess, people, including the final three right now, everybody can vote for who they would like to see win Canada's favorite, or house guest choice, or whatever you want to call it, fan favorite house guest, and whoever gets the most votes.
Oh, no, go on. I'm gonna say something afterwards.
Oh, say it. It's fine.
I was just gonna say I have spelled favorite color a certain way, and it's the American way, and that's how I prefer it. So there's no misspelling on that. There's no you, and it's because I prefer it that way, and that's all I wanted to say about it. Don't come for me. Don't come for me.
I was like, what are you, American? And he's like, actually, I prefer color this way, and I
do. I don't like the you. Sue me.
I like the you. I think it looks better. Anyways, I'm all for you. So yeah, that's it. We're gonna post that shortly. We'll post this video shortly, so you'll see them both. Vote. You'll get a special prize courtesy of Jonathan. Make sure you subscribe right down below. Hit the like button if you didn't mind what we had to say, and ring that bell if you want to see notifications for our next video. It's getting spicy. We'll have a couple more good ones coming out. So see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.